Hi everybody, it's meteorologist Joe Cioffi here on this Friday, June 22nd, just a little bit after 8:10 Eastern Time. I always like to say right up front that when we're showing you radar and satellite pictures, they are current as of 8 o'clock. But if you happen to be watching this video later on, just be advised that with respect to severe weather, be sure, as I go a little out of focus there, be sure that you check with your local National Weather Service office at weather.gov for the latest radar views, as well as any severe weather that may be going on in your particular neck of the woods. And it's a Friday going into a weekend, which is a good thing because this has been a rather long week, and looking forward to a couple of days off. But I will be live streaming over the weekend. In the meantime, just want to start off with the fact that we still have flood watches up from Virginia north and west through West Virginia, cutting Ohio on a diagonal and back up into northern Indiana, and you see a few of those little red dots there. So we have some local flash flood warnings up for that particular area of the Mid-Atlantic and the Ohio Valley. 2 severe thunderstorm watches are up at this point, one in northeastern Louisiana and parts of southern Mississippi, and also for North Texas, western Oklahoma, and southwestern Kansas. In the southwest, we've got the excessive heat that is going on. Temperatures up in the 110 range, dew points down in the single digits to near zero, so you have relative humidities that are ridiculously low. And actually, what's interesting is I showed yesterday that we often, we use the index, the heat index in the east when you combine it with the humidity, so that it feels worse than the actual air temperature. Out in the west, when with the air so dry, you have a air temperature that's 110, and the heat indices down close to 100 because the humidity makes it feel a little better. I mean, 100 degrees is 100 degrees. It's still like a sauna. Also want to mention too the flood watches that are up for parts of southernmost South Dakota and back over parts of Wyoming. So we'll bring up the latest radar. And there we go, it's this guy. And here we go. Bring up the whole U.S. radar so we could take a look at the action that's happening. In the east, you can see the circulation that is low pressure sitting now in west central Indiana. And you've got bands of showers, and in the warm sector, some thunderstorms that are rotating around. One of the things to notice is the fact that there's a lot of space in between those bands. So if you are getting showers, your friend that may be sitting in between those bands is not. And I think, at least for my area, that is going to be the nature of Saturday's weather, in that we will see some showers go through, but there will be some periods in between where it won't be raining, and it'll just be a bit just on the cloudy side with maybe some spotty light rain or drizzle. Meanwhile, we've got some blossoming severe weather across West Kansas and into West Texas and the Oklahoma Panhandle, part of that severe thunderstorm watch. And then we have some showers and thunderstorms around parts of the northern plains and back up through the northern Rockies. In the southwest and in most of the west, it is bone dry. Now, in terms of additional rainfall, here is WPC's next 7-day view. And we'll bring that up front and center here. And the rainfall amounts continue to be rather excessive in Oklahoma, back through most of Kansas, northern Missouri, Iowa, through the upper Midwest. Also in parts of South Florida, some rainfall amounts in excess of 3 or 4 inches being indicated over the next 7 days. And then the rain gets a bit more patchy as you move northeastward up the East Coast, with an area of 2 to 3 inch rains for parts of Tennessee and southern Kentucky, and also in parts of northwest Pennsylvania and western New York. Everybody else, again, this is over the next 7 days. generally an inch and a half of rain or less. And much of what is in the Northeast, by the way, is going to be front-end loaded. So bear that in mind when you look at these forecasts. I'm going to go, I'll bring up the paint box here. And I'm going to get the upper air, show you some of the changes that are going to be underway in the pattern over the next week or so. So I'm going to jump past this weekend and go to Monday night first off. And okay, so let me make sure you guys can see that, and you can. So here's the upper air pattern that is going to be across North America for early next week. This is Monday night. And one of the things that we want to point out is this is, at this point, fairly consistent with what we've had going on for the last few weeks, which is the fact that we've had this rotation of troughs in the eastern part of the United States, and this one here is going to be the last trough that's going to swing around and rotate through, because once that lifts up, and we don't have anything to prevent that from lifting up. You've got this kind of double vortex that's sitting in northern Canada and another one just east of Greenland that's basically dictating the flow, and this trough in the east is going to lift out. So once that happens, you're going to start to see a bit of ridge building that is going to occur. We also have, by the way, a fairly strong shortwave a trough, actually a cutoff low that's sitting in southeastern South Dakota Monday night, and that's going to be lifting up to the northeast, so that could mean for some interesting weather for the upper Midwest early next week, with the potential for severe weather there. We also have the beginnings of a trough out in the west. So when we move forward toward the end of the week, we are going to see the big change, and this is going to be for next weekend. And I'm going to just kind of jump on the jet stream here to next weekend, and here's what happens is all that troughing in the east just gets out of the way and lifts out. We are seeing it being replaced by a ridge, an upper high that builds along the east coast right in here, and the jet stream in Canada, the Canadian jet, is now pushed to the north along the Canadian border. You still have this vortex sitting up in northern Canada, but the ridge is going to be allowed to build, and that's because, by the way, you've got this fairly deep trough and cutoff low that is going to be in the western part of the United States. So you get a deep trough in the west, you on the opposite side, you're going to have a ridge in the east, and that Atlantic ridge, by the way, extends all the way out into the Atlantic, almost to the Azores, and you can see it right here. So that kind of outlines the upper high, and there's probably another upper high center somewhere out here along about 40 degrees north or so. And this is going to eventually lead to some hot weather in the eastern United States beginning late this week and carrying us through next weekend and into the very beginnings of the month of July. So certainly, we're seeing this change. I think the longer term question is, well, you know what, I'm going to leave this up because I want to change perspectives here. The longer range perspective is whether we wind up with this system in this ridge in the east. Is it going to be like the other ridges in the east where we wound up seeing it pop up for a day or two and then getting squashed as the trough reestablishes itself again off the New England coast? So here we go with what we're seeing right now for the weekend. We've got this system that swirl. This is the cutoff low in the upper atmosphere in the western parts of the Ohio Valley, slowly lifting up into the Great Lakes, and then that trough from Canada just swings down and around. We're going to get a shot of dry air for Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday. Now the system that follows, that I mentioned when I showed you before, that's coming out of the plains, crosses the Great Lakes. It's after that goes by Wednesday night that we start to see that ridge building in the east. And you see how it builds very strongly going into next weekend. And now we're into the first week of July, and we're heading toward the 4th of July. The ridge gets flattened to some degree. The jet stream in Canada is trying to push back southward. There is a trough on today's run that the GFS is swinging out of Canada, and then drops the trough into the eastern part of the United States later in that first week of July. So the ridge will probably come in and last for about 4 or 5 days, if you want to believe this, and then we're going to have some kind of a trough that comes down, so that we won't have this ridge around for say 2 weeks. At least that's what it seems to be. Suddenly the ridge, also part of it, builds back in the southwest, so the trough in the west disappears. Otherwise, the Atlantic, the profile of the upper high in the Atlantic in the long term looks to be kind of east-west, sort of flat in nature. This is very typical, by the way, for late June, early July. Nothing that we're seeing here really screams unusual. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Come back to the U.S. And by the way, the European model and the Canadian model, which I did look at today, as I do every day, but I gave it a deeper look today. Pretty much all the models seem to be in line with this idea of this ridge building in the eastern part of the United States. So that will, in the short range, as far as my area is concerned, eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, with this low going into southeastern Michigan, you've got this warm front that is still going to be pinned to our south with an onshore flow. So we'll see some on and off showers with this on Saturday. It doesn't rain all day. There will be dry stretches. When it's not raining, it'll just probably be cloudy. It'll also be a bit on the cool side for this time of year, with temperatures on the coast in the 60s and inland areas getting into the 70s. Now, one of the things to watch out for late tomorrow afternoon, and I'll go to a tighter view of this at this point. I'm going to come back to the paint box also. So just give me 1 second here. I'm going to put up the surface map on the paint box. So this is the surface map for tomorrow evening, and at this point the warm front is starting to nudge northward. Okay, so there is going to be, I think, an area down in here somewhere that probably could wind up with a threat of severe weather. I might have it a little bit too far south. Warm fronts are very tricky. They're always problematic in trying to figure out how far north do they get, because of the fact that we've got the colder ocean, and the ridging of that high out in the Atlantic is still kind of pressing in here into New England and into upstate New York. So that's going to try to keep that warm front suppressed to the south. Eventually the warm front is going to get through, and when it does so, then you're going to right in here, so you can see the warm front, and that area I just drew in red, dark red, as a threat for severe weather. The blue lines, that's that ridge out in the Atlantic that's trying to kind of hold that warm front back. But the warm front does eventually get through. And hang on 1 second, so I'm going to bring the map back. Oh, trying to manage all this is not easy, folks, believe me. What happened to my, I lost my window here. Hang on 1 second. Boy, oh, there it is. Okay, now you got it. All right, so there is your warm front. It does get through, and then on Sunday, help! Sunday, We are going to probably have a very warm and humid day. There's a cold front that's going to come through that might trigger off some showers or thunderstorms Sunday evening in my neck of the woods. And then, by the way, notice for Sunday night, there looks like there could be some extensive severe weather and rains for parts of Kansas and in through Missouri. So that's where WPC was showing with the extensive rain. Here comes that high that builds down for early next week. This is going to be a shot of low humidity and dry air that'll probably last into Wednesday. And then Wednesday, as a low goes by across southern Canada, there'll be a trailing warm front, maybe some showers and thunderstorms Wednesday night as some very warm air begins to come in. And then we'll transition over into that upper ridge with the heat and humidity for late next week and next weekend. So pretty interesting going forward. But as I said, we're kind of just in normal summertime mode here, seeing things in the atmosphere that, well, normally happen in the late June and early July. So it should not be a surprise to anyone. And let me just get my little Joe and Joe emblem back for the Joe and Joe weather show that we will be doing tonight on Facebook, by the way, at about 9:15 Eastern time. So let me come to the chat board really quick and say hi to everybody. Good to see everyone here. Jimmy Z in New Jersey, chilly out here tonight with that marine layer and the east wind. Yeah, kind of raw, especially right along the coast. JSABNH, planning on having a yard sale and you live in Northeast Mass. Should you postpone it till next weekend? Oh, do I love making those pressure-filled decisions. All I've been getting is questions about graduations tomorrow at all different times of the day and graduation parties in the afternoon. It looks like at least into early afternoon you should be shower-free. You'll probably get into some showers later in the afternoon into tomorrow evening as that warm front starts to push northward. If you do it next weekend, you're liable to do it in heat and humidity, so just bear that in mind in making your decision, because at the end of the day, it is your decision. One of the problems this time of year is that you don't often get complete wipeouts of whole days where it rains continuously. And tomorrow's going to be one of those days where, yeah, there will be some rain and with showers, but you're going to have dry periods in between, and you're basically rolling the dice, whatever way you wind up deciding. Johnny Quest, 5 inches of rain in 90 minutes, roads closed, and you're in Western Virginia, which has been just absolutely deluged with rain over the last 6 weeks or so, and you're probably going to be thrilled when that upper ridge builds, because that at least will shut off the pattern where you've been in this frontal boundary that has been sitting across the middle of the United States, really basically right along 37 degrees north. At least that part of the pattern will disappear, so that you'll probably go to more of the pop-up shower and thunderstorm events rather than these widespread weather events that you've been dealing with. Cullen, a little payback for the nice weather last week. Well, yeah, but then we'll pay back the other way when we get to Monday, Tuesday, and into early Wednesday. Patricia Pachulak, hello to you. Yes, Grandpa Joe, that's me. Grandson caught a 21-inch bass today and 2 smaller ones. Awesome, good to hear. Congratulations to him. It's always good to hear. My fishing buddy also caught, my fishing buddy Howie Dwyer caught a nice big bass this morning on our regular fishing spot, which I was not able to go this morning because I had things to do, but I'm hoping to get a little fishing done. What do I mean by front end loaded? Well, what I mean is that rain is forecast for an entire 7-day period. So if I'm saying it's front end loaded, I'm saying that most of the rain will fall in maybe the first half of that forecast period and not in the second. So if I were to say it was back end loaded, I would say that the rain would be coming more for the second half of that 7-day period and not the first. T-Bear, good to see you, and thank you. I hope to enjoy my weekend, and I hope you enjoy your weekend too. And speaking of weekends, it's a Friday night. You should be getting it underway, as will I, in about an hour and a half. So Thanks for being here. Just as always, you can support my channel by using the Amazon link that's on the descriptor to this live stream or on the descriptor to the video. I'm part of the Amazon Services Associates program, which is an affiliate advertising program designed to provide a means for channels like mine to earn feeds from Amazon and their affiliate sites. And I thank those of you who have used the link. I really, really appreciate it. Also, I want to welcome any of the new subscribers that have joined in the last month. Thank you for being here. I hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. And once we get through the summer doldrums, because everybody is away, I will be trying to bring on guests from time to time. I'm going to be working on that, so at least we have that to look forward to. It won't be just me babbling all the time. And also a few other new things will be coming up. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I will bring them to you front and center. I think you will like it. And in the meantime, I will just suggest that you all have a great weekend. I'll be live streaming this weekend. I may do my live streams around midday tomorrow and on Sunday. Sometimes I say that and then I wind up changing it. I'm trying to kind of anticipate what my schedule is going to be like for the weekend. But right now I'm thinking in my head, maybe I'll try to do something around noon tomorrow, and then maybe also early in the day on Sunday. By the way, the tropics are quiet. We don't have anything in the Atlantic to worry about as we move through the next 5 days. A couple of systems in the Pacific, but they're all out to sea and no issues there. Have a great weekend, folks. We will see you tomorrow.